This tutorial is going to show you how to fix a torn garment. This one is a piece that I had made for one of my aunts, and the center of a flower motif like this has been torn. So I'm going to show you how I've found a way to fix something like this. And I have my original size, my original yarn, which I've already tested to make sure it's the right size, and I have a much smaller hook that I've already checked to make sure it can go through this second layer and also pull the yarn properly. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, so the center is just a series of double crochets, and I've made one double crochet so far. What I'm going to do is take my hook out of there. I'm going to take my smaller hook and go through where my previous double crochets were worked over with this other yarn, and I'm going to come through the last part of it following my previous yarn on there, and I'm going to grab that loop and pull it through. And then I can put my proper hook back onto it. And make another double crochet. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to remove this hook, take my smaller one, put it through my previous work, grab that loop and pull it through. And go back to my original, and that is my cat pawing me right now. And that's all you got to do for this the whole way around. Now, it might not be as pretty as the original one. Sometimes it isn't, but after some practices, then it does look proper. After I remove the previous yarn, I don't want to do that right now because it will mess up the loops of the second layer. On a straight item, like say just this, then you can take the whole thing here and put it across in it, all the way across whatever is messed up at the top of the item, and then you can remove the previous torn stitches, and this will hold it in place, and all you have to do is put your loop over it and pull it through each time, and that works out perfectly fine. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I will show you the end of it. Just showing that putting it in a couple at a time does make it a bit easier. So you just slide the loop on there, grab your first bundle, pull that yarn through all of it, and slide it back on to your original hook, and this holds your previous bundle all in place. All I did was just slide the back end of it through the loops following the previous yarn. And that just makes it a lot easier when you don't lose it. There we go. Slide it on. Slide that through. And put it back. That just makes that a little easier. I only have 4 petals left, so I'm going to go ahead and put them on my little hook. So I'm going to move this yarn very little at a time. It's still on right there. And I'm just going to follow it, sliding each of the next yarn's loop onto it, making sure I follow that original yarn so that I don't lose my loops. And following it. Some of it can be a little tedious. That's mostly because of the type of yarn that this is. Since it's real fuzzy, then it can be hard to see. That's good. And last loop on there. Alright. Pull this out. And when you're working it, then this just makes it so much easier. Just so long, I would probably recommend to use like a rubber band after you finish putting the loops on, then just something to keep them where they are rather than it sliding around while you're working in another spot. That was a close one. Almost lost that loop. And come on, last bit of it. Right. There we go. Now I can remove that old torn yarn. And I have everything together here. All of the last of my petals are on there. And that will make it easier when I finish working this area. So we'll come to that soon. Okay, so I've gone through my last set, and usually when you first start it out, then a lot of people slip stitch. I like to use a different technique, so I'm going to try and do that with all of this on here, only because when I did this first one, then it seemed to be a little too loose there. So this is going to help me tighten that. And I also found a stopper that helped me out a lot. So I'm going to cut a length. Don't need too much, but enough to work with. Then I'm going to pull, make sure I can do this right. This all the way through, come here, right. Thread that. Now go through this set and around this one and back down through that set and pull that a little tighter, then back through these and down through those 2 loops. And that's how